Welcome back. You're still watching This Week, and I'm Sumner Samble. Now, more than a year after the federal government promised it will reduce the cost of transportation using compressed natural gas (CNG), not much has been felt about the policy which the government had said would be a game changer. The federal government hopes to achieve this through the presidential compressed natural gas initiative, with plans to spend close to 900 billion naira on vehicle conversion over the next 3 years. And the presidential CNG initiative also targets 250,000 vehicle conversions each year beginning from 2025. The government had promised to launch about 2,700 CNG-powered buses and tricycles before May 29, 2024, when President Tinubu will be marking 1 year in office. But a few months after the celebration, not many Nigerians can see the buses, and they're already asking questions. So the CNG buses and tricycles are yet to hit the roads, and citizens have continued to groan under the impact of high cost of transportation and its attendant effects, especially young people. So what's the current state of the rollout and implementation of the CNG? Well, I have joining me in the studio the Program Director and Chief Executive of the Presidential CNG Initiative, Michael Oluwagbemi. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and so you would have heard most young people are saying that, how come the government hasn't lived up so much to the promise of having buses, tricycles, and all of that so much on the streets? I know you've been doing some launching, including one in Kaduna recently.
And in Lagos.
And in Lagos too.
Yeah, and
Lagos
in Abuja on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good things take time. I think it's okay to be impatient, but definitely patience is a virtue. Ultimately, it takes time to build any good thing. If we're going to build this country, we must understand that it will take the unity of everybody, both young and old. I'm young myself. I'm under 40. But I'm privileged to lead this program because the president found young people capable of implementing his programs. And I think very well, I can say confidently, that my team is also a pretty young team, and we are working day and night to make this dream a reality. But beyond just the work, we're already seeing in terms of the outcomes. For example, when we started this program last year, there were less than 7 conversion centers in this country. We set out for ourselves to have 100 conversion centers built or developed, working with the private sector within a year. I'm back here less than 7 months later to say we have already 123. And we're already launching all these across the country. Among the launch you're talking about, we've actually signed directly with over 40 of these conversion centers to implement the 1 million free conversions the federal government announced for the commercial sector. So there's already progress. Be it as it may, like I said, good things take time. It takes time to build a CNG bus. If you're going to move a CNG bus, 100 of them today, from anywhere in the world, it will take you at least 7 months to build one, that fleet of 100, another 3 months to ship it if there's no Houthi crisis or Yemen crisis or Somali crisis stopping your shipping route. Today, those shipping routes are closed. Stuff that were shipped since April now lands in August, unlike what used to happen. So what we are doing is that we are not giving any excuses. We are not making any excuses. We are shifting some of those production locally. As we saw on May 29th, actually, not only did we launch the station in Ilorin, which was the first of its kind, but we also launched a day after the tricycle assembly here in Nigeria, because we wanted to bring those assembly lines to Nigeria as SKDs, creating Nigerian jobs, also enabling Nigerians to be able to benefit from the cheaper, cleaner, safer, and more reliable CNG tricycles. But beyond all of this, we are also localizing production very soon of cylinders, which is the major bottleneck when you're talking about CNG conversions across the world. Those are programs that we're already working on. We're already advanced in it. We have a team that is advancing across the world today to inspect factories of international companies that have seen the seriousness of the federal government of Nigeria and are now wanting to invest directly in Nigeria, building CNG cylinder manufacturing plants, CNG kits manufacturing plants, valve manufacturing plants, as part of our initiative to localize the manufacturing to underpin this very critical program that is trying to convert Nigeria's current waste of our gas resources to Nigeria's wealth, ensuring Nigeria can compete effectively with the rest of the world by lowering not just the cost of production, the cost of transportation, and making Nigerian businesses more competitive among the
Yeah,
peers.
and I've actually seen you working with the unions, motor
Absolutely.
park unions across different parts of the country. What exactly are you doing? Because I heard at some point you were offering them free kits, while some people are actually complaining, I mean, individual car owners, that it's just too costly
No,
converting their vehicles.
in anything we do, we have to always target the impact. Individual car owners in this country constitute less than 10% of the traffic on the road. 90% of the traffic on the road is most of the traffic. Most people are moved. 90% of people in Nigeria are moved by mass transit, and they constitute about 1 million vehicles that are running on PMS. Individual car owners like you and I'm sure you have a car yourself. We are about close to 5 million vehicles in between ourselves, but we are less than 10% of human beings, meaning 90% of people move on 10% of vehicles.
Yeah, that's
and that
bulk
means
movement of
exactly
people.
mass transit. So the focus of our program, and let's remember this: these mass transit vehicles are also older vehicles. So therefore, they demand more petrol, which means invariably we pay for this as government. So it's in the interest of the Nigerian government to make sure that these vehicles are converted to gas, because once they go on gas, then they can run more cheaply, more efficiently, and of course, safer and more reliable. So what we are doing is that we're targeting that group through the unions, the NURTW, RTN, the Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria, as well as NATO, the National Association of Transport Owners. And these three unions are working with us, nominating members. Of course, it takes a while. So some members are being nominated on a week and monthly basis, and then we're converting them and we're referring them to the conversion centers that are just
but it looks like you actually
But beyond
promised
that,
more than you can
no,
offer.
of course.
And so
Not really. We didn't, I don't think
the
so.
major challenge is what you are told Nigerians.
No,
I mean, because I remember
I don't-
Bayo Nanoga, the president's special advisor, has said that, look, these buses were going to come on time, tricycles were going to come. So the expectation was that maybe in 6 months, I mean, we could have
No, there's no
several of them. on
No,
the
there's
roads.
no. We promised to kick off the program before or on May 29, and we've done that. That's our promise. And
So
you're
you
not
didn't
going to
overpromise?
No, we didn't overpromise. You're not going.
Okay.
I'm handing over this week. I'm handing over 20 buses to the Federal Capital Territory. Next week, I'm going to do a couple of those handovers in Lagos as well. We're going to be focusing these
Mass transit buses?
mass transit buses that we're going to hand over to these entities. You have to understand that even if you bring the bus, there needs to be this regulation around registering them on the route, making sure that they're properly registered, and to make sure that the fares they're charging are also much lower than what you currently obtain. That has to be by way of negotiation with the existing operators as well as the regulatory authorities.
And that's very
So there's
important.
Yes,
because I wanted to ask,
Yeah,
how do
absolutely.
you ensure that people don't take advantage, like we're seeing in the under food issues across the country?
I ensure it by ensuring that I go into proper negotiations and ensure I come out with a fair deal for Nigerians. But
Yeah.
proper negotiations take time. So on one hand, you can complain that we're not moving fast enough, and on the other hand, you want us to do it properly. I think at the end of the day, we have to. That's why I said patience is a virtue. For Nigerians, they're used to just having things rolled out without being properly thought of. But the president is not like that. What the president asks us to do is to act fast and to act with focus as well as efficiently. The most important thing for us is to get it right. We don't want buses to be failing. We know what happened in this country before. Sure P program. This program, today we are spending less than $75 million. Sure P, at the time when Naira was going for 1 to 100, expended over 5 billion naira, which is equivalent of $500 million, right? That was then. As at then. And we know that there's no single Shopee bus that is on the road today because it was not properly thought out and not properly implemented. The president does not go for that kind of substandard program. What he has said is that we want a program that will not just be sustainable, but a program that will create jobs, a program that 10, 20, 30, 40 years from today, we will say these are CNG companies that are producing in Nigeria, manufacturing in Nigeria, and it's sustaining the CNG industry.
Yeah, so how's the private sector embracing this? Because if it does go the government way alone, we'll get into the sort of crisis we had with shopping.
Absolutely.
So how's the private sector embracing the CNG?
We've seen a proper embracing of the CNG program by private sector. Over $110 million of investment directly tracked by us. Between last year and today, I'm talking about October of last year and today, we've seen additional 110 applications going to the NMDPRA for refueling stations and mother stations that's going to fuel the system. These were from a level of maybe 7 to 10 applications before then. So already somebody's applying for permits to build refueling station, someone is applying for permits to build mother stations, somebody's applying for permits on the NADD side. They already have more than 200 applications for conversion centers being accredited. That tells you the
So
investment is
are
foreign.
you using existing filling stations, for example, if they could have segments within
They are participating,
facilities
so we
for
are working with MIMAN, we are working with IPMAN.
Okay.
NNPC just converted 12 of their stations. They have another 24 that is going to be converted before the end of October, and an additional 40 that is going to be converted before the end of March next year. NIPCO is converting 32 of existing stations, and they're also building new stations. Bovas is building 8 new stations that's going to be CNG, and they're converting over 24 CNG stations between Ibadan, Ilorin, Ekiti, Abuja, and Nasarawa. So again, we are seeing the private sector come off the sideline, investing massively in this program, and we're excited about it. At the end of the day, though, we are going to be measured by the outcomes. And for me, the most important outcome for us as Nigerians is how many natural gas vehicles is going to be running in this country by year 2027, 1. 2, is that going to impact the life of the average Nigerian in terms of the transportation fares and cost to them? I think that's very important that we track that. And 3, how many jobs, how many industries, how many companies have we created as a result of this investment? At the end of the day, the investment you talked about, 900 billion, if that's your estimate, I think maybe we can reach a little above that. But with 900 billion, how much are we really talking about today in real terms?
In terms of dollar value,
yeah, about $400 million. But ultimately, the private sector is expected to spend additional $2 billion. Our ability to attract that $2 billion cannot be based on pessimism. Again, what we project is what we get. If we're pessimistic about the program, then the private sector is going to be pessimistic about it. Then we're not going to attract the right capital. But our optimism and the hope that we project, which is why the president's mantra is renewed hope, is that the hope we project to the private sector is what attracts the dollars we need in order to make sure that you get the infrastructure you need to ensure to power the CNG revolution.
So just before I let you go, very quickly,
Yes.
most young Nigerians are saying that they are not feeling this immediately right now. So they want quick solutions. How much more patience do you need for these issues to actually trickle down, for the gains to trickle down?
Yes, so anything we are telling you we are doing, you can track it. So that's the most important thing. If I tell you I'm moving a pen from point A to point B, you can check if the pen has been moved from point A to point B. When we said we're going to ensure 100 conversion centers is going to be created in this country, and we focused on it, we delivered over 121 in less than 6 months. We planned for 100 in 12 months. Today, you can go to our website, you can even go to our Twitter as well as our Instagram handle, and we've listed these conversion centers either in already operating, even signed up to our CIP programs, or about to start. So you can track what we're doing. When we're telling you that we're going to deploy in FCT in this next week, you can track if we're going to deliver those 20 buses to FCT. So you don't need,
I will be tracking you actually, because you said the next 1 week,
yes, you
will be delivering those buses.
Okay. You don't need to wait forever to see those impacts. At the end of the day, also, for example, we have a partnership with Bolt and Uber. Yeah. Beyond commercial transportation, we understand most young people move around in this ride share. Right. So we are partnering with Bolt, we're partnering with Uber, we're partnering with LagRide, we're partnering with InRide, and a lot of all of these ride shares. And we're giving them 50% discount on their conversion kits, just to make sure that they come in and they use it and then they pass on some of those savings to our young people. At the end of the day, we'll be measured by the outcomes, and I'm very, very, very confident that we'll get to where we're going to.
In all of this that I've seen is there are steps to ensure that there are cost-saving measures. And we must really thank you so much, Michael Oluwagbemi, the Program Director and Chief Executive of the Presidential CNG Initiative. And I just hope private car owners, too, will be factored in later, because they say using 800,000 naira to convert a vehicle now, I mean...
There will be financing, I'm sure. We're already talking to our conversion partners.
All right.
There will be financing for the private sector. And I think that we also work on working with the President's credit economy ideas.
Yeah,
and I think that is just good for all Nigerians.
All right, sir. We do not have enough time to talk about that, but we will be tracking all of that and everything you've said here. I must thank you so much, Michael Oluwagbemi, the Program Director and Chief Executive of the Presidential CNG Initiative, for joining us right here. Well, that's the much we can take on this edition of This Week. Thanks to our production team here in Abuja, Lagos, and London. Do join us same time next week for another exciting edition. I'm Somna Sambo. Thank you for watching.